Well, welcome to the Valley Hoops Insider website and the Valley Hoops Insider podcast. Harry Schrader with you today. And I've been telling you, those of you that visit our site regularly, we're trying to dip our toe into the women's game a little bit. We've been exclusively covering the Missouri Valley and Ohio Valley conferences on the men's side of the basketball world and starting to try to get introduced to the women's side as well. And if you've been visiting our site, you know, we've talked to a handful of the coaches and analysts that cover the sport for those two leagues in recent weeks and months. But I thought, man, I still have to keep learning and keep growing. And I thought, I know I've got this old friend who is a Hall of Fame high school girls basketball coach, has just been coaching internationally as well. He is Dan Rolfes over at Incarnate Word High School, Incarnate Word Academy here in St. Louis. And we bring Dan in. If I hit all the buttons correctly, we bring him into the conversation now. And there he is. Dan Rolfes joins us. And Dan, thanks for joining us today. I know it's a busy time of the year. You guys are starting up school, but I appreciate you joining us today.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Listen, I might have all the stats wrong, so feel free to correct me. I think 12 state championships. I think 6 in a row. I think you guys have won 100-ish straight games in Incarnate Word, and you just won the gold medal at the 16 and under international championships. Do I have that stuff close to correct?
Yeah, you're good on that. Yes. Yeah. It's been a good couple of years.
I want to talk about all of that today, but before we get to that, I've known you a while and used to announce some of your games here on local radio here in St. Louis. First thing I want to ask you is, how has the women's game changed in the last 15, 20 years? Because you've been at it a long time, though you're still obviously a very young man. How has the game morphed, grown, changed?
I think really similar to the guys. It's way more spread out. You hear the term stretch four now. There's just not a lot of, probably, and we played that way early on in, the early 2000s. We were, high-low, jamming it inside, more post touches. And now it's, 4 out, 5 out. You're on the perimeter more, you're driving and kicking and people are talking about, the corner three being the most high percentage shot in basketball. So, similar to the guys, it's more spread out. It's a faster pace. It's, more perimeter oriented.
When I used to see you guys play and a lot more often than I do now, such a high level of play by the Red Knights and Incarnate Word and in your conference. I mean, great basketball in your conference as well, across the board. But how has the rest of the game changed? What I mean is, like, the Knights program that's all over St. Louis, and the kind of culture, the development of players at a younger age seems to me like off the charts compared to 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. There's just a lot more opportunity for kids at a young age to get involved in, quote unquote select sports. And, similar to, what soccer has done and volleyball has done on the club side, I've been involved on the club side in youth basketball with our Knights Basketball Academy. And, we were doing the numbers just the other day, and we had 72 youth teams last year, boys and girls, and just trying to give the kids an opportunity to learn the game. And we feel like we're doing things the right way. We do a lot of skill development. We're not, obviously we want to win and we want to be successful, but we're also worried about the IQ and playing correctly. We're going to play man to man, whether in third grade, whether it's going to result in a win or not. And so, there's just a lot of, things that we're focused on just besides the winning and losing. We're just trying to develop players.
But in Incarnate Word, you never lose. We mentioned 100 games in a row and a lot of state championships. Talk about the culture around Red Knight basketball and Incarnate Word here in St. Louis.
Yeah. I think you hit on the head when you said culture. Our kids fully believe that they're going to win every single game that we play. And I think winning is a mentality. And, regardless of what's happening through the course of the game, our kids have the confidence that they're going to win. And I think that's huge, the mental aspect of it. But I'm in a lucky position where every kid I get, they want to go on and play at the next level, and they know what we're doing within our program is going to help them to succeed, to get there. And I look at my job, with as the head coach is, one, obviously we want to win games, but I also want to prepare them to play at the next level. And if we're doing both of those, it leads to some pretty good results.
When Nafisa Collier was there, I was announcing games at the high school level back then. I remember her just being a dominant player, and in so many ways, she was big, and you would post her up, but she would go out and score from outside. She'd handle the ball. She'd bring it up. Obviously, she went on to, do great things in college and in the WNBA. At that stage of where Incarnate Word basketball did she become did she make a big difference in the program as well in terms of, letting people know all about your school?
Yeah, I mean, Nafisa's a once in a lifetime player for our program. And we had success prior to her. But having her in our program and her attached to Incarnate Word Academy, it gives us a lot of street cred, that's for sure. And I couldn't ask for a better ambassador for our program, because I tell people all the time, she's the best player that I've ever coached. But not only that, is she is, for her status, she's the most humble, grind out in the gym, best teammate you can ask for. So, to have her attached with Incarnate Word Academy, I know people know that locally, but as I go when we travel to these out-of-state tournaments, and my work with USA Basketball, because she's attached with USA Basketball as well, she's definitely helped to put us on the map.
Amazing player, amazing career. Back in the day, when I was around the prep scene a lot more, I remember those battles with St. Joe's and Julie Matheny, and they were in a different, I want to call it weight class, a different classification in the state than you were. They were always in the Final Four. You guys were always in the Final Four, played in the same conference, and those battles were something special, weren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was great. And it's always great to have a rival. And, just from a fan's perspective, people will have that game marked on the calendar, and, there's a line outside the door, regardless of whether it's at St. Joe or at Incarnate. And to see that buzz around girls basketball is great. Very similar to the visitation tournament during Christmas time. And I know you've been in to watch some of those games. The semifinals and finals are, standing room only. And again, it's great for our players to play in front of those crowds, and just gets them excited about, the playing and all the hard work they put in. And it's great to see them showcase that.
Recently, you were part of the 16 and under, the head coach of the 16 under national team that won a gold medal. How did that come about? I mean, obviously you've had great success, but all of a sudden you're coaching the national team.
Yeah, I know. I did some work in 2017 with USA Basketball on a limited basis. Just, they call it there's a tryout process, and they bring in multiple coaches for that. So I was one of the what they call court coaches. So I helped with tryouts, and then when the team started to practice and went to compete, I was done. I came back home. But then, I'd offer to help at any time going forward. And I hadn't done any work. And really, honestly, in middle of October, I get a random call from Brianna Weiss from USA Basketball. And she's like, "Hey, I've taken over for Carol Callan, and I'd like you to be the head coach of the 16 national teams." I mean, completely out of the blue. So I was a little bit shocked, but I mean, there's no hesitation. I'm like, well, of course I want to do that. Representing United States and being a part of USA Basketball, I'm like, no brainer.
So exciting. You guys go and win the gold medal. And of course, the U.S. team has had great success in those championships over the years. How different was it, though, coaching both for the nation, but these all elite players at an international stage?
Yeah, I've never had any international experience, and the FIBA rules are a lot different. 24-second shot clock, 8-second backcourt. The game is sped up a
Hmm.
lot, and then I honestly I didn't know what to expect from the other countries and the level of talent that they would have. I was able to watch film, but it's not the same as seeing them in person. So that was all very very new to me. Um, and again, back to the 24-second shot clock, everything is sped up. So kind of what I thought was playing fast is way faster in 24 seconds. So kind of my vision going into it and kind of what I thought we would do from an offensive standpoint, I had to adjust a little bit because there's just not that much time.
Hmm.
24 seconds, you're relying so much more on the quality of your players, and thank goodness for us. I mean, we have the best players in the world. So honestly, try not to get in the way and let them play a ball a little bit. But really, most of what we're trying to accomplish is to get them to play together as a team and buy into that team mentality. And um, and that's as big as any X's and O's. And we were able to do that. I had a great group of kids who bought in and got along, and we're coachable and listened, and it was just a great experience. Everybody from the trainers to the doctors to the USA staff was amazing. It's just very very cool to be a part of something so big and that everybody is so excited to be there and be around and have one goal in mind. You don't see that often. So it was really, really neat to be a part of that experience.
I read Steve Overby's picture piece on your trip there, and you commented, and he wrote about what it was like to hear the national anthem after winning the gold medal game. Can you just reflect that back to us a little bit? I love Steve; he's such a great writer. But I was reading his piece, and he reflected that quite well.
Yeah, really, truly amazing. Um, Obviously we hear it before every game, um, and when you hear it, I'm obviously very respectful of our country, and um, but then when you go overseas and you're representing USA and
Hmm.
on our jerseys and on our shirts, it says USA, it hits a little bit different. Um, and winning that, and you're, you're hearing it, but you've just done something that you feel for your country. And it's just something that I've never experienced before, and literally had goosebumps, and really kind of get goosebumps talking about it right now. And um, it's really, really hard to explain, but honestly, one of the most cool moments of my coaching career was hearing that, and being able to represent USA.
So fun, man. So excited. I'm so happy for you. You talked about the difference, the FIBA rules, and then there's collegiate rules, and there's the prep rules. Do you wish those were maybe a little bit more homogenized, or do you like that the different levels have different ways of going about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there needs to be a gradual merge. Um, I don't think, right now the high school would be good for a 24-second shot clock, but I do think there should be a shot clock.
Hmm.
And I don't know if the 3-point line can't be the same for what a freshman in high school, and what a WNBA player
Hmm.
is shooting from. So I do think there needs to be somewhat of a gradual merge. Um, High school did adapt to the college women's rules, and on the girls and the guys side with the quarters and the 5 fouls and the double bonus, which I personally like. Um, but what I'm really hoping going forward is that Missouri would adopt the shot clock. It's been passed by the National Federation, and a lot of states are going to it. We're able to play with a shot clock in other states, and I realize there's some challenges with it, but I think if we're going to continue to grow the game, we need to adopt a shot clock.
The 17 and unders next year, will you be coaching them as well? I think I read that somewhere, but I wasn't sure.
That's in the process. That's generally the path. So I'm planning on it. It's not 100% official, but I am planning on doing it.
So a long, long time ago, you made practically no money working for our mutual friend Jill Pizzotti over at St. Louis University. And I told Jill the other day I was going to be talking to you, and she just gushed about how much she likes you and is proud of you and all of that. Talk about your time at SLU and with Jill, and you can brag on Jill a little bit if you want.
Yeah. Jill gave me an opportunity. I was a high school coach here for a couple years at Rosary High School. Had a good little group. I kind of coached them while I was in college. And then when I got out of college, got the chance to coach them at Rosary. And we had some success and got that program turned around. And she had a job opening at SLU. And back in those days, it was called restricted earnings job.
Mm-hmm.
And it was restricted earnings. I got paid like $1,000 a month, and they charged me $100 in parking. So a little crazy, but she let me in and gave me that opportunity. And, I was only in that position a year, and then, got promoted to, full-time assistant. But she gave me a chance when I was really young, and really didn't even know what I was doing. But I was willing to grind, and I was willing to work a million camps. And I learned a lot from Jill on just the college process and the recruiting, and then just, kind of develop my own philosophies on, how I would handle the program, what I would do when I got my chance. And, also had a chance to watch a lot of Coach Spoonhour's practices and talk to those guys. And then when he left, Romar's practices. Jill is a great resource, has always been a great coach and a great friend, and has helped me, with my coaching career.
Jill is the one of the assistant coaches at DePaul now after a really successful stint there at St. Louis U. I just so admire her and appreciate the way she did things. I used to announce their games too, and so we got pretty close there for several years. I've always asked the question of other people, why isn't Dan Rolfes coaching at the collegiate level? Is that something you desired, didn't desire? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, when I left SLU, I was my wife was pregnant with our second daughter, and it just, I think, the rules are recruiting rules are bad now. Back then, I was gone pretty much all July, part of June, just the travel and the recruiting, and what you would have to do to get to the next level from a head coaching job, and moving around from state to state, program to program. And I wanted to be a little more present when we were starting a family. So and that's when I got out and went in and came to Incarnate, and I've been here ever since. So just the travel lifestyle and that was just not what I wanted.
You talk about all that recruiting and all of that. I want to take you back to SLU. Title IX and all of that has been, evolving, right, over the last 50 years. But I used to announce those games for the women over in the old West Pine gym. The men were playing at the Checker Dome or whatever it was, and the women were playing at the West Pine gym. And those Sunday afternoon games, if you were going one direction, you were staring in the sunlight. And things have changed quite a bit at the collegiate level, haven't they?
Yeah, I remember our players ended up had to share a bathroom with the general public. So at halftime, they would go into the bathroom with everybody else, and then come back into the locker room. So, then you see there, the practice facility now down at SLU and Shea Fits, and it's beautiful. And kudos to them. They're putting money and effort and everything into basketball. So that's great to see.
You said earlier, and I'll let you go in just a minute, but you said earlier the young ladies that come to play for you, most, if not all of them, are looking to play at a higher level, play in college and so forth. And obviously on our site, we cover the Missouri Valley and Ohio Valley Conference exclusively. Talk a little bit about the collegiate game and what it takes for a young lady to get there, and maybe any of your experiences with the MVC and the OVC.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of our players, almost all of our players, go on to play the collegiate level. So, what I stress, the most is effort and energy.
Hmm.
No one's going to want to coach a kid who's not going to bring effort every day. So that's just a given, especially at the college level. Um, but beyond the skill level, I feel like what we do here at Incarnate is we teach the IQ and knowing the game, and being able to watch film, read a scout, and be able to execute it in a game plan when the game's on the line. So, the expectations and what the players are going to be expected to know and perform at the college level is more than just being a skilled player. And honestly, those coaches at the collegiate level, they win or they get fired.
Hmm.
So they're going to be there in the summer. They're going to need to know their scouts. They're need to know player tendencies during games, and those are all things that we try to incorporate here at Incarnate. So when they move on to the next level, they're going to be successful. So, and I think our kids do a pretty good job, and I have good feedback from the college coaches on our players.
I guess in this last NCAA Final Four, they set all kind of television records for the women's Final Four. It's a growing enterprise, isn't it? The women's sports in general, but women's basketball has really kind of caught the fancy of the American sports public.
Yeah, I mean it's a great game. Girls do a great job of sharing the ball and playing a team game, and the skill level of these girls and athleticism is through the roof right now. So I think Caitlin Clark did a great job of getting so many people, and maybe just because we're in the Midwest, but just getting people excited about women's hoop, and and seeing different teams. Obviously I love Gino and UConn, but just seeing Iowa and LSU, different teams, in the Final Four and in the national championship game, just kind of makes people realize, hey, I don't have to just go to Tennessee or UConn or Stanford to win a national championship. I can go other places and be successful and have a good college career and play for a national championship.
Appreciate your time today. I wanted to catch up after your summer of exciting things, and as I said, we're trying to figure out more and more about the women's game. I used to announce the SLU women's games. I used to announce Missouri Baptist women's games and UMSL's women's games. I mean, I'm not foreign to the women's game, but I feel like I'm just trying to re-educate myself on that side of the sport.
Yeah, no, I know you've been doing a lot of women's basketball for a while. So, yeah, I appreciate you having me on. And it's a great game. It's continuing to grow, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I've been on the women's side my whole career, so I love to see the publicity and promoting all of our girls.
That's Dan Rolfes. He's the head basketball coach in Incarnate Word Academy here in St. Louis. They have won 6 straight state championships. He was just the head coach of the USA basketball 16 and under squad, and they won the gold medals. So appreciate your time today, Dan. Hey, everybody. Appreciate you joining us today on the podcast. Remember, since you've been there, make it a better place. We'll see you again real soon.